just three ordinary people from the hills of eastern Kentucky. We don't have all the answers, but we do have all the questions. This is the Just Add Bourbon podcast with Jimmy Don, JD, and Don.
Welcome everybody to the Just Add Bourbon podcast. I feel like I'm still doing all my My name is James Gannon, and I'm with my co-host.
Hey, I'm Dawn Giesica.
And it's another beautiful day here in the hills of Eastern Kentucky, Don. And again, I feel like I'm saying Jimmy Don's lines, but I'm sure I'm going to vary off that track very, very soon. But Jimmy Don's not with us today. He's got dad duties, taking one of his daughters to dance. And he just wasn't able to make it. So me and Don decided we was going to get on here. And I feel like the teacher's out of the room. What do you think?
I know. I feel like the parents have left the house and we've got full control. Oh, my God.
And I'm not sure how this is going to go. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about us, we'll talk about anything, right? So if you guys have any topics you want, just chime in on the comments and we'll go for it.
And I'm sure if me and Don wasn't getting if we start arguing that, I don't know if we'll ever stop. So.
Right. We might be going till tomorrow. All right. Well, we'll try to stay away from the hot topic politics then, I guess.
Sure. So starting out tonight, local high school football team, Martin County High School, won their last district game, last home regular season game against Prestonsburg. I always hated Prestonsburg, still hate Prestonsburg. Always glad when we beat them, and that was awesome. Finished up the season next week at East Carter. It's been a good year so far, and go Cards.
Yeah, y'all looking good, looking real good.
Yeah.
So who do you play next?
We play East Carter.
East Carter, that's
East
right.
Carter, yeah.
At East Carter.
Yeah, and then we come home for the playoffs against Shelby Valley. So.
Wow, boys are doing good. Well, we're rooting for you.
Caitlin, we're going to get to the blind laundry subject here in just a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're going to start off with first off SEC football, right? And
SEC football.
Alabama looks like they're vulnerable.
They did. They really have been getting exposed a little bit. Either Alabama actually is not as good as Alabama usually is, or Tennessee is better than what they have been, made out to be. I don't know what happened last night, but Tennessee started off really good, and then Alabama started, doing what Bama does, and then next thing you know, roll tide and it's over with. But I still think Georgia's going to dominate everybody, but we'll see. What do you think about Cincinnati, though?
I think Cincinnati's way overrated at number 2 in the nation. I watched that game with Navy, and Navy had a chance, man, at the end of the game.
Right.
They kicked the onside kick, and they, trying to go to the air, which is what you got to do at the end of a ball game. But and then get picked off, and Cincinnati ended up securing the win. But I think Alabama has been exposed a little bit by A&M a couple weeks ago.
Yep. And
I don't think Tennessee is as bad as we expected them to be, and so I think it's a little mixture of both. What happened Saturday, Alabama still ended up pulling away at the end pretty good. I think 20 points or so.
Yeah, they finally got it together.
But I think they're definitely not the cream of the crop up there with Georgia. I definitely don't. And when Clemson lost again, they lost their third one for the year.
Yeah, Clemson's just fell to pieces. I don't know if they lost their whole – I don't know if everybody went to the NFL on them. I don't know what's going on with them. Or if they just had a really good quarterback for the 4 years that they did, and he's gone, and now it's another LSU program.
They had Deshaun Watson, and then they had Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, and
so,
Trevor Lawrence
was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, so – but, honestly, JD, I didn't even know Clemson – I didn't watch football. Growing up in Kentucky, you kind of watch basketball. So then when I started watching football, I didn't understand how everybody got to say they were the national champion. You would go to Ohio and OSU would be like, we're the national champions. Tennessee, everybody would think that they were like the top. So I didn't start watching football until the CFPs. Right. And love it now, because now there's no question. We're going to bring in a little bit of everybody.
Yeah, and I think it's been great for college football. It hasn't been extravagant. 4 teams doing it out at the end of the season. And I'll be honest, they usually get it right. It's usually the 4 best teams in the nation, and so far so good.
Yeah.
Knox said Tennessee did not throw much for golf balls this time. There was a boot because they was in Tuscaloosa, and they would got the brakes beat off them.
I know, right?
I promise you, if that would have happened.
Did you see the kid though, the Tennessee fan, Caitlin? Did you see the Tennessee fan that had the boot Did you guys see that? Do you know what he's talking about?
No.
So ESPN zeroed in on this UT fan who had a mullet, and because mullets are cool now, they've came back. So these young kids are wearing mullets. He had a mullet, and then for some reason, JD, he has his boot. Like he's just holding his boot. I don't know if he was going to throw it, because that's what Tennessee does. But he had his boot. It was.
Do not do that in Tuscaloosa, bro.
Yeah. So it's been memed. It's so funny. You just never know. You never know what they're going to do.
All right.
All right.
So to get into it, that's the sports talk for today. And Don, we just got to talk about it. This is a story that seems to never go away.
Okay.
For the last 3 or 4 weeks. Dave Chappelle is back in the headlines again.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like the people at Netflix, actually the employees at Netflix, walked out and protested having this special still on Netflix. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are people have a right to have their own free thought. Just because people are saying that Dave Chappelle is transphobic doesn't mean it's true. He is not transphobic. It doesn't mean that he hates transgenders or anything like that. His show was, well, we've talked about this in the past. His show did not attack the community, but they think that it did. But just because a community thinks something does not mean that it's fact. Because 93% of the audience who has watched The Closer does not think that it was transphobic at all. So I don't know. We're back again to a small group of people complaining for a majority of people who don't agree. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. There were actually some comedians who jumped up and went out there and did a counter protest during all this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I hadn't
Which
heard
are
that.
Also, I don't know, man. I feel like there's assholes on both sides, just to be honest with you. Like,
for sure.
Those people have the right to go out and protest. If they feel like they're offended or they feel like Dave Chappelle will be canceled, that's fine. But also, it wasn't that bad. Anything he said wasn't that bad, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But also, if you think Dave Chappelle's getting canceled and you're a comedian and you want to go out there and get a little limelight and on Dave Chappelle's back, you're an asshole, in my opinion. So everybody's allowed to go out and peacefully protest. I think that's great. They want to do that. But at the end of the day, I think it's a bunch of nonsense.
But I mean, they're protesting Dave Chappelle's segment being played on Netflix. It just doesn't add up. Netflix transgender employees are protesting Netflix. If Netflix was transphobic, then why do they have so many transgendered employees? It honestly, I don't think Netflix is transphobic for letting it play on there or letting it stream. I don't think Dave Chappelle is. I don't think that he should even really give it time of day, and he hasn't so far.
You think he's cancelable? Do you think they can do it? You think they're going to
Absolutely not. I think we're finally, after probably, how long do you think this cancel culture has been going on? 10 years, maybe?
Forever.
It seems forever. But I mean, to where we're really running on this social justice stuff, how long do you think it's been going? At least a solid 5-10 years. I think we're finally done with it. When you even see like Democrats and the more progressives go, I'm getting over it now.
Yeah.
And everybody is getting over cancel culture. I mean, you have people like Chrissy Teigen. She finally got canceled. She was full throttle trying to cancel everybody while she was bullying other people. And then she got canceled and then complained about getting canceled. So I think that it's insane. No, Dave Chappelle should not be canceled. He didn't say anything bad.
Yeah, I don't think he's cancelable. I really don't. I think he's that good. I think he's that important to our pop culture. I think he's that important. He's probably the GOAT of all time as far as comedians goes.
Yeah.
And that's an art form where you're going to say some offensive stuff at times. People are going to get offended. If you tell a Alzheimer joke, if you tell a joke about people of color, if you tell people a joke about Jewish people, you tell a joke about Indians or Native Americans or Indians, whatever. So we just got to, I just don't think Dave Chappelle's canceled. I think he's that good and that great of a human, and I just think he's untouchable. And this crowd is going to run out of. So Sam says Alzheimer's jokes aren't funny, and I understand why she feels that way. Just the way that's the way trans people feel about these trans jokes. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, because it's personal to them,
right?
So, but this is an art form. Stand-up comedian is an art. Stand-up comedy is an art. Mm-hmm. And that's what art does sometimes. Sometimes art pushes those boundaries. It's always pushing, especially comedy. A tragedy plus time It's comedy, right?
Right.
And that's what comedy is. And I've heard Alzheimer's jokes that I've laughed my ass off at.
Yeah.
You know.
Being in healthcare, I don't, and this doesn't mean that people shouldn't change how they think or change their wit because of my thought, but I don't really make fun of like diseases and stuff like that because I'm from the mindset that if you can bring those types of things on, so I just don't fool with it. I did go to a comedy show in Tennessee. It was a great show. However, I went probably about 6 months after my dad passed away, and the show started gearing toward hillbillies and like rednecks and hillbillies because we're the last group that it's still politically correct to make fun of. I mean, people host hillbilly and redneck parties, and you never see people hosting like African American parties or Jewish parties or Turkish parties. I mean, you don't. But either way, and they got on there and they said something about if your dad's name Earl, then this, and this, and this. And I will be honest, that one hit because, my dad, handlebar mustache, 6'3", and his name was Earl. So, but I didn't go out and say, I'm going to cancel him and let's protest. I simply did not return. That's how it is.
And so, Sam says, joking about someone having a fatal disease isn't art, but it is. People talk about fat people all the time. They joke about fat people all the time, but it don't feel me. I'm obese. I'm overweight. People die from being overweight.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with Sam on that. Being fat and having Alzheimer's are apples to oranges.
They are different things, but
yeah, I get what you're saying though.
But they both kill you.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So anyway, but comedy is the last resort, like the last art where you can get away with those things and say those things. Any subject is on the table, in my opinion.
Yeah. So far, anyway. So hopefully for your art, because you're a comedian, right, JD? So hopefully this will all die down. I think that Dave Chappelle has actually done a lot of good, and he didn't even mean to, for the art form, because this is causing all comedians of all walks to kind of unite and go, look, leave us be. Don't come. Remember, you don't have to stream Dave Chappelle's show.
Absolutely. So let's. I made this one on the show before, but it's the best. People complain a lot about Walmart coming into small towns and shut down mom and pop shops, right? What's the best way to keep Walmart from shutting down mom and pop shops?
Go shop at mom and pop shops.
Right. Don't shop at Walmart, and they won't come.
Yeah.
And if you want to keep mom and pops open, if it's that important to you, let them kind of spend those millions of dollars and build those big stores, and don't go there. Right. And they will shut down. If there's enough of you that it's important to that, don't go there. If Dave Chappelle offends you by talking trans phobic talk, if you think he's transphobic, then don't watch the show. And I guarantee you he won't get another special.
Right. And all he said was, I support the community, but I'm also going to support women. That's basically what he said. Biological women or cis women.
Cis women.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't keep up with all this stuff.
The jargon. Yeah.
So no, I don't think he's cancelable. I think it'll move on and people are just going to keep fussing, but it'll eventually die down, I guess. And if it doesn't, then we'll just keep talking about it like we do COVID and everything else. Speaking of COVID, did you guys see where we lost Colin Powell?
We lost Colin Powell, yeah.
Yeah, that was
a big deal, ex-Secretary of Defense. Or was Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense? Secretary of State.
God. Yeah.
He was Secretary of Defense.
I think it was, I don't know. I think he held multiple positions, a big guy, big military guy, did a lot for the country, died of COVID complications. And once that hit the media, then you had a lot of people say he's fully vaccinated and he died. So now we're not going to, get the vaccine. Vaccines don't work. And we were back to that conversation again. What did you think about that?
I'm tired of that conversation.
I'm about as tired of it as I am Dave Chappelle's show.
Right. So honestly, my biggest memory of Colin Powell, though, is back when we were about to go into Iraq. Mm-hmm. And we were making all this big hoopla about weapons of mass destruction. And I was totally against the war in Iraq. Let's not go into Iraq. Let's not send our troops in Iraq. Let's not spend money in Iraq. And then Colin Powell testifies before Congress with video images of all these trailers they think has WMDs in them, all this surveillance they've had of trucks moving things around. And then that's when the American support for going to Iraq really come through. Mm-hmm. And it's a shame it really, I think it tarnished his service a lot. Really, for me, it did. Like, I really lost a lot of, I don't know what he was just. I'm sure trying to make decisions on the intelligence he had.
Yeah. So what do you do? What do you do when that's
But after you spend that much time, and after everybody's saying there ain't no WMDs there, they're not a threat, they're not a threat. And then you spend millions of dollars and millions or hundreds of lives or thousands of lives there, and there are no MWDs. That's That's just tough. That's tough to come back from.
Yeah, and you can only do what you can do with the intel, just like with this COVID pandemic response. Everybody says that this is the information we have and this is how we should respond, right or wrong. That's how people are making their decisions. So that just goes to show that the intelligence that you get and the people you surround yourself with, you better trust and make sure that you're getting all of the right stuff in there before you make those decisions. But died.
I've actually read the biography of Colin Powell. He's a fascinating guy. If you have, in the 60s and 70s, when he was coming up through college, and a lot of these, I guess you'd call them hippies, were pressuring him to be this way, and they're talking about, your uniform, because he was talking about, Vietnam. You know what I'm saying?
I just think that.
And he says, you're wearing a uniform. He's got a uniform on. He looked at those guys. You look like you got a uniform on to me.
Mm-hmm.
With the long hair, the bandana,
Right.
So they both had just two different uniforms on,
Sure. Just, I don't know. I didn't like I don't like to talk about people when they pass away. So I will, just step away from saying anything bad about Colin Powell. And I would do that with anybody. That's how I am. You haven't heard me call Biden names either. I don't get into stuff like that. But unless I'm really ticky, or if I'm PMSing, right, JD? If I'm PMSing, then I get in there and I just
if your boobs are swollen, you're not about anybody.
Then everything, then I'll just slam everything. So when it comes to COVID complications and him being vaccinated, we have to remember he was in his 80s. He was fighting, I believe, multiple myeloma, which is a cancer. His family talked about, hey, he was at the end of his life with or without COVID. Don't blame it on the vaccines, but I don't know with this vaccine stuff. What beer are you drinking? Heineken.
This is Heineken. Like sometimes I go through different kicks. I'll drink Corona. I'll drink Dos Equis.
I cannot drink beer. I'm getting to where I can't drink. I don't know if I'm just getting soft or what. And then lo and behold, guess what I started drinking this week? Coffee.
Are you serious?
Coffee. I haven't drank caffeine in, I don't know, 15,
If I wasn't start drinking
years.
coffee or energy drinks, y'all had time me to something.
I will only drink about 2 or 3 ounces, Todd could tell you, because he has to make it. But I've been trying to work on drinking a little bit of coffee, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it or not. We'll see. Yeah. Either way, that's neither here nor there.
So Colin Powell, we're done with. Ryan Laundrie.
Yeah, and the Gabby.
So it looks like the dog about her didn't make it to him in time. He was on the run, on the loose. Yeah. What do you think about this, though? It seems like a whole mess to me. They found not him.
Right.
They found his remains. Like something seems not right to me. I wish Jimmy was here for this. I bet he's got a conspiracy. But go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Caitlin's probably. If any of you guys are following this, then fill me in. But if I'm understanding what little bit I have read, his parents suddenly found information and turned it over, and that's how they knew where to look for him. Is that correct? I mean, yes, I totally agree. His parents how do you just suddenly think about it? So your kid is on the run. It's a it's a national story, and everybody's talking about it. You are telling everybody that you don't know anything, but then suddenly at the 11th hour, you find something, I think in the trunk of the car or something like that, that has all this information on it. And then you turn it over to the cops, and then bam, they know where to look, and boom, they find his remains. His parents absolutely need to be arrested. We're talking about they have completely jacked up this investigation. I don't believe for a second, JD, you know this too, if one of our kids was tangled up with something like this, I would be digging through everything in the house to see if I could find any information on where, Reagan or Brooklyn or Holden is holding up at. That way I can turn it in. I mean, I love my kids, but if you murder somebody, you're done.
Yeah, I don't want to judge them too harshly.
Judge who too harshly? The parents.
The parents. it's easy, like for me to stand here and say I do this or I do that, but man, it'd be tough to turn your kid in, or I'm sure his mom has been weeping for weeks at this point.
Sure.
I mean, when's the last time? How often do you get in the trunk of your car?
Well, if my kid was in a murder investigation, I'd be in every little nook and cranny,
I don't
because
know.
you have to remember, it's hard to spank your kids. It's hard to discipline your kids. It's hard to do anything that goes against your kids.
So you'll turn them in for a murder charge?
Absolutely. If I thought, but I'll tell you why. Then we're talking about a young girl whose life has been ended just because she dated the wrong guy.
Sure.
So I would have empathy for the parents of Gabby, to where I would they would have to tell me something. I mean, yeah, I would have to.
I mean, I totally get that feeling. I have a young daughter myself, but also have a young son myself, 2 young sons, a 20-year-old and a 13-year-old son. And man, now, I don't know.
Now, if I thought they were being framed or something funny was going on,
but I don't know how cooperative I'd be. I don't know that I would go out my way to hide my kids or conceal my kids. But I don't know that I would go out my way to help them find them either. I'd probably just stay in my house and weep,
Yeah. And, Well, I would have to. That's the one time that somebody'd have to go get me some drugs, some Xanax or Ativan or something. I would be destroyed, because we all think that our kids are perfect, right?
Yeah. And what if your son came home and said, "Mom, this is really what happened. I didn't kill her. This is what happened." You believe that with all of everything.
Sure, you would want to believe that.
And so maybe that's what he told his parents, and maybe his mom.
I just don't think that I'm the type that would go, okay, so now I need you to run, because that's going to make it look much worse.
I wouldn't do that either. I wouldn't do that either.
I wouldn't.
I don't know that I would be. I don't know that I would be involved in trying to find him either. Though.
Yeah.
Trying to lock him up. I don't know about that one.
So, but no, I think that the parents need full on investigated, and definitely need to serve some time if they have been hiding out all this information, because we need to set an example. If you are clogging up murder investigations, then you need to face a consequence.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but clogging them up and not being involved, not having active participation is two different things, right?
Right.
So I feel like I don't want to judge these parents too harshly. They was in an awful mess. It was in an awful situation. It's a nightmare. I can only think of a couple situations that are worse than that. And one's the situation that Gabby's parents were in.
Yeah. And that's where I'll lean more. I'll lean more that way. I mean, this girl clearly was murdered by their son. So I'm going to lean more toward the one who paid the ultimate price, and that's Gabby. Right.
And I get that. But no, you got to look from the parent perspective as well, is what I'm saying. Is like, you don't know what he told them.
Oh, yeah. No, I agreed with you on that.
Yeah,
I mean,
So,
if I felt like my kid was getting framed or was just in a bad situation, then that's different.
Right. So that's probably how she felt. You don't know. Like, so I don't want to be so harsh on them. I do think that it's worth questioning. It's worth finding out. But I don't want the court of a public opinion to be that harsh with me not knowing. You understand? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of, schools, I was watching a TV show this week, in a talk show, and they were talking about Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher? I don't know. The two. Mila, whatever they are. The girl with the big eyes. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. Yes, anyway, so I guess somebody asked her about child rearing and, all this stuff with how they parent their kids. And they said, what would you do if your kid was bullied? Or she told the story about what she told her kid to do if she was bullied. And she told her child that if you were pushed at school, then you push him back. And there was this big outcry. So what do you think about that? What do you tell your kids if they get bullied?
Well,
look, I said I wasn't going to bring this up because this is an East Kentucky based show, and we all know that.
You know what's going to happen in East Kentucky?
Yeah, right. So we all.
I had a guy talk mean to me a couple weeks ago, and I hit him. So.
Right. If we can remove ourselves from our culture, because our culture is violent.
So what's the right thing? Is that what you're asking? What would I do, or what's the right thing?
Well. I guess I'm asking both, but before you answer, if you don't care, I'm gonna give my answer because that was a good way of saying it. Because you said, "What's the right thing to do?" I still think that the right thing to do is to stand your ground and fight back. My girls know that you're going to have harsh, especially Reagan, because Reagan's in the modeling world, and that kind of isolates her with regular kids her age, so she hangs out with girls who are like, we know on runways and stuff like that, right? So with her, I'm like, Reagan, if you ever get bullied, who cares what they say? But if they touch you, I'm going to give you the same advice that Earl Harmon gave me. If I ever come home whipped, I get whipped again at the house. So do you want whipped once or do you want whipped twice in a day? Because that's how that's going to be. But you need to stand your ground. So I still think that's the right thing to do. Now, I don't know if I'm wrong, but that's just what I feel like I need to do for myself and for my girls.
So the question was about pushing, and I just don't believe in pushing. I just do not.
Well, we're talking about physical anything. If once your kid is physically touched, what do you tell them to do?
Then we're throwing makers.
Yeah.
We're going to end it before it starts. So there is a lot of truth to the only way to stop violence. A lot of times is with violence. Mm-hmm. The only way to stop bad guys with guns is with good guys with guns. There's a lot of truth to that. And so I feel the same way when it comes to child rearing. If you don't start nothing, there won't be nothing. I don't think I swear on my life right now, if I ever found out my kids were bullying somebody, I would lose my absolute shit.
Oh, me too. I will not tolerate it.
But if I found out they was getting bullied and not standing up for themselves, same exact thing. I would not be happy. They would not be happy.
I mean, when I moved to Tennessee, it's not Eastern Kentucky, regardless of, what people think. We're complete different. I mean, because we're isolated here in these hills, but when you go to Tennessee, you do get more diversity because more people are moving there. It is not a thing to fight there like it was back here. And I really wanted to make sure. I fought every year, that, JD, multiple times every year. So I wanted to make sure.
You was always the victim, though, Dawn.
I was. So I was wanting to make sure, because I'm a different personality, especially like Reagan's real sweet and, kind of meek. Brooklyn, you'll probably get a little more fight out of if you push her around. But Reagan, too, if you push her, then there we go. Everybody's throwing hands. I just didn't want them to have to deal with that. So when I moved down there, you're kind of taught, and Caitlin will know this. Well, look at her answer. You tell them to stop. And I don't know if I can bring these comments up. I've never tried. But you tell them to stop, and then if they don't, then push them back. I agree. But you ultimately want to try to de-escalate. If that doesn't happen, then I say you're just going to have to defend yourself at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, once you start putting your hands on me, we're going to have bad problems. And either I'm going to carry one or you one. That's just all the rest of it. And so I got to hear this story.
What?
Dawn has thrown hands in defense of her husband.
I have.
And if that's true, then we absolutely 100% have to hear this story.
Okay, well, let me tell you. I cannot believe he brought that up.
Thank you so much for bringing that up.
So I don't like to, but this particular situation, I can't tell everything because this, goes out to thousands of people. I mean, you all see that we only have maybe a few people watching now, but it's ultimately streamed. We had one up to 4,000 people. So I will say this. Do not put your hands multiple times on my husband in my house when you're invited on my turf and hide it from me to where he has to come up and say, hey, this is what's happened 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And then if I confront you and then you do the whole, well, I thought we were all friends. No, I'm not that type of friend.
No. Hold on now. Just so we'll make sure because I want to make sure this is crystal clear.
Okay.
Putting hands on your husband, like
smacking his butt.
Look at Todd. Todd, you're my boy.
He does have a cute butt, and I like
he showed me. He took his shirt off a minute ago.
I don't like, and I don't think that. I don't know. Everybody has their different friend groups. And this was a friend that we didn't really know that well. And I think that, she was just loosening up or something. It's hard when I'm not a big drinker. So I'm always sober. Right. And so, other people get drunk and then they do things that I don't know if they would normally do if they weren't drunk. But really try to be sophisticated and as classy as I can tolerate. But if you cross my kids or my family, then I have no problem tapping into Emily Creek and letting it fly, because it's a matter of disrespect. You just don't do things like that.
So Todd comes up to you and says, "Look,
you're going to pull this out."
Oh, absolutely, yes,
yes.
I'll tell my fight story. I want to hear.
Right. So he came up to me and he said, we had this little get together, and we went out to dinner. And we were celebrating something, I can't remember what it was, but we paid for everybody's dinner. So we invited people, and we're like, we're going to celebrate this thing, and it's our treat. Come out. It was a really nice night. So I've already invested money into you. You know what I'm saying? And, and I'm thinking you should be a little respectful. And then we go back to our house, and we are right beside of our neighborhood pool. And, I'm off going to change because we're going to go swimming now. And I guess 4 times throughout the night, she kept touching his butt. You don't do that. It's different. I mean, and I don't like touching anyway, but it's different if you smack somebody's butt in front of everybody and everybody sees it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
trying to
sneak around just hit me all kinds of wrong. And next thing you know, I'm pulling signs out of the yard and had to call it. That is a big deal. It was a deal. It was a whole deal.
You're not getting away with that.
It was a whole
did you stroke her?
deal.
Like you just you did. I want the details, girl.
Well, I mean, it was. My kids know about it because I talked to them about it, and I said, "This is what happened. I hate that it happened, but if you have to defend yourself or your loved one, then I won't judge you. I'll be right with you." So yeah, it was a whole throwing off the porch and in the front yard and through the neighborhood parking lot, swimming pool parking lot. And then when she got in her car and fled, then her car took some dings and it was a whole mess. So, but
I'm
glad
I know that story.
It is.
I feel like we
just Look, I'm 128 pounds. And I'm 132 when my boobs swell and I'm PMSing. Right. And if you hit me wrong, if you hit me wrong, then there's a difference between, you don't have to be big to be mighty. All you have to be is a little crazy. Right. And let me tell you, if you've got enough crazy in you, you can hold your own. Now, if you get one wrong lick by a big one, then you might have to wait a minute, wake up, and then attack them again. But ultimately, you can hold your own. And don't you be talking about, so let's talk about your date life. How's that going?
I do. I do. I'm pressing too hard on this. She's going to ask you about dating / sex life / non-sex life. But it's fine.
That's right. How's your date life going, JD? You're single still, right?
I am single.
By choice right now, yeah. I don't blame you. It takes some time.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, man, I don't know, man. Like right now, I've got some options, I guess. But I'm trying to focus on this comedy thing, trying to focus on this podcast, trying to just get right by me for the first time in a few years. I've been crazy, man. Since my divorce, I've just been crazy, honestly.
Yeah.
Been running through it up here in East Kentucky and Southern West Virginia. And
how long have you been divorced?
2017.
Okay. Yeah. So it's still kind of.
But for me, man, honestly, it took me a minute to recover from this thing. It was hard for me. This divorce was not easy on me.
Yeah, that's not a long time. Yeah, it takes a while. So what when you say you put through the ringer, what does that mean? Too much of everything, too much of dating, too much partying, too much what? Too much everything?
I mean, it means I've been running through women like
JD, are you a full-fledged whore?
I mean, I've been called that a couple of times.
Oh, Mark, don't be a man whore.
But I'm telling you, I'm changing right now. That's what I just told you.
Well, yay.
It's I'm being good. I haven't, and also I really liked Amanda. Honestly, truthfully, that was, and we broke up, and so it's oh man, so it's taking me a minute to
take your time, think about it.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure when I go back into something, it's with the right person and it's on my time, not just because I'm bored. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's good. That's a better way to do it because a lot of people get hurt in that, right? A lot of women get
Sure.
emotionally involved, and then they expect a lot. Dating.
And I've
would
done
have
that to
be
women
rough.
too, though, because and not meaning to, but I thought thinking you were at a certain place and not really being there.
Right.
Does that make sense?
See,
And then end up hurting people that you don't intend to hurt. So that happens, and it sucks. I've never meant for that to happen, but it has happened.
For me, I don't think that sex would be good if there. But now I'm a girl, so I don't think that sex would be good if there wasn't some type of emotional commitment and involvement and stuff like that. But you guys are completely different, so you guys can like have sex and not be emotionally involved, and then your girl gets hurt, and then they get mad, and then everything goes.
I'm absolutely flabbergasted that Chris K. We're talking about the size of somebody's head. It's only
hey, Chris.
It's only up there because nobody knows what Chris K. is, because his head is like, I put on his hat one time and it was falling down below my eyes, and I've got a big head. But this cat right here is, anyway. So yes, I agree with you. So that's what's changed me too, man. I'm really not interested in that one night stand stuff. I'm not interested in, and I sound like this is weird. So this is weird. I feel like even saying that right now makes you sound feminine or less of a man. And I don't know why.
I don't think so. Think so.
But that's the way I feel, man. I don't want to just go out and have these one night stands and all this stuff. I want something that means something. I'm ready for that. You know what I mean?
All grown up, JD's all grown up. Yeah, no, I think that people would be better off. I teach my kids, and so far so good, but I teach them to not give themselves away, because if you give yourself just over and over and over, then what's the prize, really?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying be a tease, but teasing's better than giving it all up.
Right, absolutely.
To everything.
But I guess speaking of sex here and all this stuff, I guess Superman has come out as bisexual. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I seen. I didn't read the article because it was so ignorant that I didn't want to. But
that hurts my head. That everything's got to be, have a sexual identity. Everybody and everything's got to be like Spider-Man. I don't care what sex you are. Superman, I do not care.
Well, and I thought that was Batman and Robin anyway. Didn't you always like get the vibe that there is like something?
Batman's a dominatrix.
I mean, what are they really doing? What are they really doing in the Batmobile?
The Batcave.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously, I don't know why we have to include it. It's included in Nickelodeon cartoons now. It's like we're going full throttle with just throwing in every little thing. Everything has to be, I don't know, what's it called? Non-binary or this gender or that gender. I don't even want to keep up with anymore. I tried and it got exhausting. I'm just not doing it. But yeah.
So I guess
Superman's bisexual. So
Superman's bisexual. And I guess Tom Holland, actually, I know this is a thing now. He said he would love if Spider-Man came out as gay or like whatever. Like, but why? I don't understand why. I don't need my superheroes to identify sexually as anything. I just need them to save the world, and that's it.
Yeah, I have no idea. And I guess you've seen that Rachel Levine. Did I get that right? Is that Levine or Levine?
Oh yeah. What she get? Appointed as what? She got appointed something.
She got appointed as the first 4-star. Shoot, I don't know. The first woman to do whatever she's doing. And I've had a couple of people ask me. I didn't get involved in it either because honestly, at this point, it's really taken away from, I'm always going to argue in favor of cis women. Like we don't have women in the military that can't be the first to do these things, but whatever. But it's kind of taken away from the trans too, because you almost think that they're being selected because they're trans, which is a good argument to be made.
So I think this is interesting right here. And we talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
So Caitlin says, I work at an elementary school and there's a boy that his parents are letting him choose his gender.
Yeah.
Some days he wears a dress, some days boy clothes. He's in kindergarten. And I absolutely have totally conflicting feelings about this. And I don't know how to make those things work, but I want to hear your thoughts.
I'm highly disappointed because Mom knew very clearly that I wanted to be a horse when I was a kid.
Right.
And she didn't let me go to school, acting on all my fours. She didn't let me do any of that stuff. So how these kids are getting by with talking their parents into saying, hey, this is what I'm going to be today or for now, I think that's too young. Now, not with everybody. I'm sure there are some people and they're just born and that's just what they are. But I don't know if that's the case with 100% of them.
It's probably not, but I think, and something that I've said on here before too, most people who come out and say that they're actually a girl or actually a boy, they don't grow up and regret that decision. And I don't know, I think 5 years old is way early to even talk about sex.
I think it's really early, and now they like try to give them, enable them.
But also should you take your 5-year-old and make him be the manly man? Teach him this is what the man does.
No, you let him be.
Right. So that's what I'm getting at. Like there is a balance with all things in life. I think too many times we want to look at life as black and white, but life don't live in black and white. We live life in the gray more times than not.
We do.
And this transsexual thing, I'm sorry, I think that's I don't think you can say transsexual anymore. But this transphobia thing, like sometimes it's not transphobia, sometimes there's common sense. Right. I think 5 years old is a way too early thing to force anybody to be anything. But now I'm thinking about this though, and I thought about this earlier today. When you go to a gender reveal party, what does blue mean?
Right, boy, and then pink girl.
Pink means a girl. But I mean, can you be a boy and like pink?
Sure, they can.
Yeah,
but we can still use pink for girls. That's okay too.
Right? Absolutely, yes. But what I'm saying is like it's like we got to assign these colors to if you're this, if you have a penis, then you're blue. And if you don't have a penis, then you're pink. And I don't know. I just feel like there's so much gray area there. And you know what? I could never. I can't say that because I'm pretty confident in who I am. If I like pink that good, I would say it. But
right.
It'd be tough for a guy who grew up in with around toxic masculinity, and there is toxic masculinity. To grow up and say, "Oh, I like pink." They would probably get the shit beat out of them at home or something.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
20 years ago, you and back here for sure, you would have been made fun of if you as a guy wearing pink. You know that as well as I do.
For sure.
I'm in the same position. Caitlin Brooklyn, when she was in kindergarten, went to school and then came back after Christmas break, and her friend was in girl clothes when he was a boy the first semester. The school handled it really good, and the kids did fine because they were, kids, but they were confused. We had to talk about it. The counselors had to talk about it. It was a whole deal. But the parents did good of the child who is transitioning because they did not force their voice on the majority. So they didn't say, hey, because my kid is transitioning, I demand her to use the bathroom with your girls. So that's how we got through it. And they went to school together until I moved her to private school. So, did fine throughout the whole thing. But when you get into these kids sharing bathrooms when they still are anatomically correct for their birth sex, then there are some definite concerns that parents of girls have.
I mean, I get that, and I parent of a girl, I get that. But so there's actually a kid here in Martin County who's transitioning or has transitioned. I'm not sure, but they go to school as a girl. Yeah, and they go to the girls' bathroom, but I don't know. I feel like that she would be more interested in the guys going to the guys' bathroom, right?
Yeah,
and she would be more likely to make a move on somebody in the guys' bathroom. Yeah. But we just feel like a guy can protect himself more, right?
Yeah, I think it's all right. Yes, it's all case by case. I have used the bathroom multiple times with transgender, and it was a guy who changed into a girl, full throttle though. So she's completely changed, everything is gone, but still her body is as big as yours, so there's still a threat if she was to, lose her mind, I guess, but that goes for bigger girls all the time. So I don't know. But when it comes to kids, elementary and middle school, but especially elementary, I wouldn't want that. So that's how our school got around it. That she just used the teacher's lounge bathroom, and the kid didn't mind, and none of the other kids cared, and it was fine. But sometimes you have kids that do mind, and they lawyer up, and then you're in a whole big ordeal. So lots of gray there. But when it comes to my kids, they're older now, but when they were younger, I wouldn't want a 5-year-old in the bathroom with a 5-year-old transitioning, just because I think there would be questions
for them.
Yeah, I just don't know if they would. That's a lot.
It is a lot. Yeah, I agree with that. And it's tough because there are people that feel like that. They feel like they were born the wrong sex.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to say that because I don't know what that feels like, right? Like I don't. Like I always liked women. I'm definitely a dude. But there obviously are people out there, because you don't chop your dick off if you feel like, if you feel like you're a man, you don't chop your dick off.
Right.
That's just a fact.
I think it's like I said, case by case. High schoolers, especially like in Martin County, a small town, they probably all know the kid and are comfortable and fine, and they're all able to go in stalls and shut the door, and it's fine. I don't know. Like I said,
Bejo's watching. Bejo, I am happy to report that Dawn has not cussed me one time yet.
None. 0.
But we're about ready to get into the politics.
Oh, yeah. Are we? What are we going to talk about?
Well, we're going to talk about the Great Resignation stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with the Great Resignation, but I guess in the month of August, you had 4.3 million people quit their jobs in 1 month, and it's went like that. It's been in the millions in the previous months too. Lots of people are saying it's because of the free money that the government's putting out, but that's only one part of a giant puzzle, I think.
Well, I mean, we ought to caveat that with, we also added jobs that month, even August and September. I think September we actually added 200,000 jobs. So 4.3 million people made a quit, but we hired back 4.5. So
yeah, I mean, we still have
we're adding jobs.
Yeah, we have jobs, but we don't know what kind of jobs we have. It sounds like the people who are resigning, it's hard to not stand with these people because it's the majority of people who are in low wage service jobs and have been, and they're working for big corporations that are making billions of money. And they're not sharing it with their employees. So, and a lot of the employees who are quitting are also women. So when you look at women in the workforce, it takes a lot for me to work versus you, because I have to arrange childcare.
Sure.
I have to figure out, okay, my kid's sick. And that's how it's always been my whole career. So where Todd goes to work because he gets free childcare and house from me. You see what I'm saying? So I'm taking care of all the managing and all that stuff. So he just gets up and goes. But with women, we have to align the stars to be able to go. So when you are having to go through all of that, and then you go and you earn a check, and then you come back and your check goes to daycare, or your check goes to traveling to get to your job, or clothes for your job, then you get a little bit of aggravation going, and then you quit your job. So the majority of these people are women quitting.
So, and I want to say this, I've worked fast food jobs before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked coal-mining jobs. I've worked in a factory, and now I work as a distribution supervisor in the Martin County water system, which is not easy. But fast food jobs are by far. Oh, and I also do telemarketing jobs, which is fucking terrible, by the way.
Yeah.
But fast food jobs are the hardest jobs I've ever done.
Well, they're set up like modern day slavery. They're sub minimum wage jobs. So you don't go and wait a table for an hour. Yeah, for an hourly wage. You go and wait a table for like $2.35, $2.50. Your entire paycheck is dependent on what I as a patron think about you. And that would be hard. It would be very hard, because if I had to earn a paycheck on what people think about me all the time, I don't think I'd earn as much.
I would starve to death.
I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, right?
Sure.
So that definitely needs overhauled. But with this tip system that we have over here for the restaurants, it's time that we probably, and don't get me wrong, that's going to drive our cost up. That's what everybody's going to argue.
Yeah, it is going to drive our cost up, but I'm the same way on the cost, the driving the cost up as I am on taxes at all. if I'm making sure people are eating, then I'm okay with paying extra.
Mhm.
I'll pay. So what's your philosophy on tipping? Because I want to know this. Because I'm usually a really good tipper. Like I believe in tipping. I think it's important that we tip people. They're working these jobs where they're not getting paid good hourly wages.
Right.
But I went out to eat today, and I didn't get good service at all, and I didn't leave a tip, and I was pissed when I left. So, what's your thoughts on tipping?
Oh God, I agree and disagree at the same time with you. Used to, I had that mindset. If I didn't get good service and I held back my money, I still will give a small tip, even if I'm irritated at your service, because like I said, I've gotten a little softer and a whole lot more educated. These people are everybody has bad days. I would hate to not give a single mom a tip because she's fighting with her baby daddy who doesn't want to come pick the sick kid up from daycare,
Sure.
or she just started her period, or all these multiple things that could
Sure.
go on in their life. So I always tip. Todd really leaves generous tips, especially if you and everybody knows that we get great service everywhere we go.
Right.
If we can't leave a good tip, we simply don't go out to eat, and then that hurts them too. So that's why we need to figure out something with these.
I mean, I could have left a good tip.
employees.
It wasn't that at all. But
Yeah, but you're saying you didn't because she didn't earn it.
No, it wasn't a she. It was a dude. It was a guy.
Or he.
So we sat there with glasses empty. We went to a Mexican restaurant, so we didn't have sauce. We didn't have nachos.
Yeah.
And I was just frustrated by the time we left because I'm used to going to a different Mexican restaurant where I get really good service.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't give as much either.
And so I was like, he was like, "You need your receipt." I was like, "Nope." And I just signed a 0 and put the total on there. So I didn't leave a tip, but I feel conflicted about it. You understand? Because I know what the wages are, but it's not like those people weren't. So it goes back to this fairness thing, right? Like, is it fair for me to just give him a good tip knowing he didn't earn that tip?
I know, but isn't it also fair to give somebody a little bit of grace and go, hey, maybe he got up. Maybe his mom is in ICU on,
it could be
a ventilator. You just never know. So I definitely give something, even if it's $1. If it's bad service.
I just was aggravated, and I took my mom out, my stepdad out, and I got lunch for them.
Yeah.
And we got terrible service, and I was like, I'm not leaving them tip. He earned every penny of that tip.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Because if I go to work and I don't do my job, guess what?
You still get paid.
I still get paid. But there's repercussions. Right?
There are, but for them, it's money. Honestly,
right.
if you automatically don't like your waiter or your waitress, whether or not they give you service or not, especially in for women, their
tips, penis bottle, by the way.
A lot of their tips are based on their looks. Like when the pandemic was going on, they would be asked to remove their mask so they could see how cute they were, so they could determine the tip that they wanted to leave them. So,
I don't do that though. I'm not doing that. If I get good service from the ugliest dude in the world, I'll leave a good tip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I will work hard to try to encourage them to. Now, if they're just flat rude, that's different. And I'll say, we leave good tips, take care of us right off the bat, and we get it. But, I'm sitting up here in a privileged position too, JD. I mean, we go to country clubs and they all know us by name. So our service is completely different, but they didn't know that at the beginning.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not in a privileged position, but I'm privileged enough where I could have left a good tip had he give me good service. And I don't know, man. I just feel like that's what you were striving for. It's what you're earning. And he may have been dealing with some personal stuff.
Yeah. It's a very non-progressive move for you.
Yeah, and I felt bad about it. So I'm talking about it now. But I also don't feel necessarily that it was the wrong thing to do. I don't know. Well, because what if you keep on reporting? What if you keep on rewarding? And here you go, libertarian. What if you keep on? What if you keep rewarding bad?
That's what we see all the time. Bad behavior. It's what we see all the time. That's just like with all of our social programs and stuff. We can't.
So what do you land on that? Like that's not.
Yeah. No,
And again, it's that balance, of all these
there's
things
a
we talk
balance.
about.
That's right. You have to strike a balance. So you try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but once it comes to where they're abusing something or just not trying, like it sounds like you didn't. Now look, if somebody
Because
would
I like to give good tips. You know what I'm saying?
if they wouldn't have brought my queso at a Mexican restaurant, then that would definitely dive into the tip system that I give you, because I'm a queso girl. So, and yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying with it. You can't reward bad behavior, but that's how we have started to set things up. It's just funny hearing it from a liberal saying, I withheld this. I could have gave it to you, but I withheld it because, typically that would be me. And I'm over here going, I would at least give him $1.
Yeah. So, matter how the tables have turned.
Well, no, right. What is going on? Where's Jimmy Don when we need him? We're about to turn purple up in here. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on with the Great Resignation. It sounds like people just have figured out that you can make money without going to a 9 to 5. It's a gig environment. Lots of people are doing that. Good for them. If you're in a job,
what about automation though? Is there an automation to that?
There's big automation on that, but that was another thing everybody, thought about years ago when you saw 1 and then 2, and now when you go to Food City and Walmart, you see 5, 6, 7 automated checkout stands. They are blaming a lot of this resignation on that. We've got robots doing the job of humans. So, like I told you before, I don't even vacuum my house. A robot does it. So I don't know where we're going with this shift in society to where we're wanting all these machines to do everything, and then we're knocking people out of jobs.
Betty Joe, can you see Dawn waiting on people in a bad mood? We would have to fight Dawn all the way to the front door. She's PMSing, her boobs are sore. We're going to have to fist fight right now.
Yeah, I could get ready.
Here's your dang queso.
I know, right? Be slinging it every which way. You hush, Mom. I'm a little angel all the time. Oh, there's Michelle.
Tips should be extra for a job well done. We shouldn't have to pay for our food and pay the waiter and waitress to sell. And so I think Michelle makes a good point here. Is it the responsibility of the consumer? And this is really the crux of the issue, right? Is really the responsibility of the consumer to pay these waiters and waitresses salary, or is it the responsibility of their employer?
Right. And see, that's where we're all saying it falls on the employer.
I agree. So,
and when I say that, I'm saying it because people are going to say that's going to drive the cost up. It is going to drive the cost up, but we cannot continuously sit back and let people work for $2 an hour and anything on top of that. If you like me, that's what it is. If you like your service, then you're going to throw them $1 or something. That's
so how do we get there though? Like, do we have to mandate that or what? Do you think employers
employers need to do that? No, I wouldn't mandate that. You know me.
No,
I don't like
aren't going to do that
mandates.
though. Employers aren't going to do that though. Or employers have been doing this for.
You don't have to
years.
Work for them. You don't have. I have choice.
So you're the government's going to fix it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I have choice. I can either work for a company who lets me work for sub-minimum wages and bitch about it, or I can come over here and I can, I don't know, fix my hair a certain way or whatever, and go to a higher end restaurant that will pay me a good wage, hourly wage. But no, swooping in and mandating it,
I like Betty's question here. If the food is not good and your waitress looks mad, what do you do? So I feel like this is a thing that happens too. Sometimes the food isn't good and you penalize your waitress for it.
Yeah, who didn't even cook it.
Who didn't cook it, didn't have a thing to do with cooking your food. So
I will say this, back here, everybody is pissed. And you guys are really used to it. I've been moved away for 20 years and I come back and we laugh about it. We'll go through, because it's funny. I'm not offended, but it's funny. I'll go through, like, I don't know. I never say McDonald's. Where did we go the other day? Oh, Dairy Queen, because I have an ice cream weakness. You know this. And I love to go through and get Blizzards. Well, when you go to like Chick-fil-A, or if you go in a different part of the country and you say, I want a banana split Blizzard or I want a Heath Blizzard, they're like, okay, thank you. Pull ahead here. And then you put your order in. And that's what you do. And I can translate that It's what do you want, and then what a small Heath blizzard, and then means move forward. So when you're not from here, you think, oh my God, they're mad, and you kind of cower and you just do your thing. But if you're from here, you do exactly what you did, and it's like, F it, I'm not rewarding you for that. It's constant fighting all the time.
It really is.
It's exhausting.
Don's Restaurant would have a slogan: "You pinch ass, we whooping ass." You pinch your own ass, and then you wheel off.
The reason why I'm so off on that is because, and the girls watching, Michelle and Caitlin and Sam and Mom, when you're a girl and you work any job, you get a lot of touching, and that just I don't like it. And that's made me very, I'm a hugger. I love to hug people, but there's no reason why anybody needs to smack my hind end.
Right. I agree. But so we won't get into that.
Jimmy Don is not on here to yell at us over our time limit.
Yeah, I ain't worried about Jimmy Don. Jimmy Don, you're gone today. So we need to talk about Jimmy Don. Anyway, Jimmy Don.
So we covered the Great Resignation. Is there anything else you guys want us to talk about? We talked about the Gabby thing. Halloween's coming up.
So I'm a little bit disappointed. I'll be honest with you with Halloween. Like, I'm wanting to get. Oh, did I talk about? Oh, I went Thursday night to stand up. Did I talk about this already?
You got Thursday? Oh no, you didn't.
Last Thursday I went to Huntington and did stand up.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
At Taps at Heritage. It went good. So I don't want to get caught and bogged down with what I've got going. My material that I have. I'm always looking to get better and add more material. And so I took 5 minutes of new material to Taps at Heritage in Huntington. And it wasn't a great set. I didn't kill. I didn't make everybody laugh off their, rocker or whatever.
Right.
But I feel like I got some good laughs, and it was decent. And it's definitely a premises that I can develop and do better with. I'm really trying to get Bob Zaney. I haven't announced this yet at all. I'm trying to get Bob Zaney into Inez, Kentucky in December. So hopefully something will break loose on that before the week's out.
But you like doing your comedy skits, right? Is that what they're called? Comedy skits? I don't know anything about that. Oh my gosh. We have forgot to touch the Alec Baldwin. Oh
my God, did we really?
How did we completely forget that? Where is Jimmy Don to keep us straight?
Yeah. Anyway. I'm drunk at this point, so I don't even.
So, Alec Baldwin. Everybody's heard about this story. They were shooting a film named Rust, I think, out in New Mexico. It's shot in a town that's been used multiple times for shooting Westerns. They had a prop gun. The gun went off while Alec was in character. He meant for it to go off. He squeezed the trigger. It went off. And it ended up killing a cinematographer, Hallie something. I'm not for sure of her name. Helenia,
I think, or something like that.
Yeah, up and coming cinematographer, and
42-year-old,
and then with a family, a husband, and then wounded the director. So lots to unpack there.
Yeah. So go ahead. I'll let you go first on this one. I just feel like that. As far as it being Alec Baldwin, the anti-gun guy, ended up killing somebody, and the pro-gun people, or pro-Second Amendment people had an absolute field day with him on the internet. I've seen, but people were like, have zero chill at all. Like, they announced she was dead, and there was memes coming out. It was crazy.
Yeah, I've seen some terrible memes. People are. I never knew people were so mean. Yeah, I did. I seen some terrible memes. As far as the anti-gun crowd, with Alec Baldwin and all these celebrities, Jessica Chastain and all them leading the charge about, let's put all these restrictions on guns and all that. And then they act so passionate about that. And then they turn around and lose that passion and use the very thing that they're passionately against to earn a paycheck. That's hypocrisy at the nth degree. I don't agree with anything to do with Alec Baldwin's politics, but I'm not going to sit here and say that he's not hurting and that he's not completely distraught over this. I mean, he shot 2 of his coworkers and 1 died. I mean, it's terrible. But what do we do about these prop guns? I mean, gee whiz.
A couple of things. I agree with you, actually. about the hypocrisy of Alec Baldwin. I don't know how you can march and protest and get on Twitter or social media and talk about how evil guns are, and then make movies glorifying gun usage.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's all Westerns do.
So let's get away from that. If we're going to, if we're going to be anti-rape, let's not go on film and rape people.
Right. I will say that there's lots more coming out to this story. I don't know if you've heard, the Great Resignation's affecting Hollywood too, right, JD?
So I was about to get into that about there was a union actually that was running on the set there the week before this shooting took place. They went to the studio and told people they were not safe on the set. It was not a safe set. That gun had misfired a couple of times, I guess.
Right.
And it ended up killing somebody with a real bullet, live bullet.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of greed was involved too. They did not have enough staff. Their staff walked off.
So that's what studios are there to make a profit. That's what and so the union guys, the union staff, in the stage managers, the prop manager, walked off props. They brought in scabs, people who work not union, work contract work, come on the set and put the gun back in Alec Baldwin's hand and ended up killing somebody. And it's the third time it's happened. Everybody knows about Brandon Lee, who was filming The Crow 3. No, I'm sorry. He got killed during the first shooting of The Crow, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. But he got killed during that scene. One of the scenes where he's standing on the office table and everybody's firing a gun at him. He gets shot, killed.
Yeah.
Another guy put a gun to his head, thought it was a blank, blew his brains out. And then this one, it's a bad situation. I don't feel Alec Baldwin is responsible. It's a crazy situation. I hate that it happened. But I don't feel like if you want to take a hard stance against gun control or guns and gun control and then go.
Yeah, I think he needs to shut up. He definitely can't say anything now. Like, it's done for him to go out on these anti-gun things. But watch and see. Hollywood will somehow spin it, and then they'll get with the Democrats, and they'll spin it. It'll come out with.
There's no legislation been put forward by Democrats to get rid of your guns. By the way,
I will get penalized for something that went off in a Hollywood studio. That's how these things always end up. So. We'll see how it goes, but that was a big story, sad story. Young mom. So you've got some kids now without a mom and a husband without a wife and a mother without her daughter. Yeah. And that will hang on Alec his whole life.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But ultimately, I feel like it's the prop manager's responsibility. I don't know. I don't know enough about the story. I don't think enough information has been shared about the story yet.
Right.
But I hate that it happened. I hate that somebody lost their life. That's all I can say.
We'll see how it goes. But
all right, Don, I think that's a wrap for us.
We did. We did it. We stuck it out.
Jimmy, Don, we miss you, bro. Me and Don didn't want to get into much crazy stuff because we don't know how long we'd fight forever.
We knew not to get too much into guns because we'd be on here until midnight tonight arguing about it. Yeah. But thanks.
We appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate all you listening at home. You guys share our podcast. Hopefully some good things are about to come forward for us. And Don, you have anything else?
Nope, that's it. We'll see you guys next Sunday.
So I'm going to steal Jimmy Don's line again before I end the show. No matter how bad your week or day has been, or no matter how bad your week is going, if you just add bourbon, it always gets just a little bit better. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday.